Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why some days you are super disciplined and other days it feels impossible to resist that sugary treat or that extra drink? Well, today we're diving into a fascinating new study that explores how our minds, at very specific moments, can influence our daily habits, especially when it comes to alcohol. This research asks a really big question: what is going on in our heads right before we decide to have a drink? And how does that affect our drinking later that day or even over a few days? You know, it's easy to think about drinking habits in the long run. Like, I drink too much in general. But what about those split-second decisions and feelings that lead to that actual drink? That is what this study tries to uncover, focusing on something called momentary or in-the-moment predictors. So the researchers noticed that while wanting to drink or having an intention to drink is a pretty good predictor of drinking, things like our ability to stop ourselves, our inhibitory control, are not always so clear. This is especially true for people who drink recreationally, meaning they aren't dependent but still drink regularly. They wanted to see if that split-second ability to control ourselves, or our intention to drink, predicted actual drinking. To figure this out, they did something pretty cool. They recruited 142 people who drink alcohol regularly but aren't struggling with addiction. For 4 whole days, these folks got 3 little nudges on their phones each day. These nudges, called prompts, would ask them about their alcohol use, how much they craved a drink, how much control they felt they had over their drinking, and if they had planned any drinking for that day. And this is where it gets really interesting. Right after they answered those questions, they had to do a quick game on their phone. This game, called the Go task, is designed to test how well they can stop themselves from doing something they're supposed to do, which directly measures their inhibitory control. Think of it like a really fast video game where you have to press a button for one color but not press it for another color. Making mistakes on the no-go trials means your inhibitory control isn't working perfectly in that moment. Now, for what they found, they looked at 2 levels. What happens between persons, meaning, do people who generally have X tend to drink more overall? And within persons, meaning, in my own day, when X happens, do I tend to drink more at that specific time? First, planned use was a big predictor. This means if someone planned to drink more, both on average across the study and on any given day, they were more likely to drink. This makes sense, right? If you plan to drink, you usually do. But here is where it gets more nuanced. They found that in the moment, when people felt they had less control over their drinking, they actually drank more. This is a within-person effect, meaning on days when my feeling of control dips, my drinking goes up. And interestingly, they found that when people felt more craved, they actually drank less at that moment, which is super counterintuitive, and we'll get to why in a bit. When they looked at the whole day, the same patterns largely held. Planning to drink predicted drinking more for the day. And again, feeling less in control of your drinking was linked to drinking more for that day. What does this all mean? The big takeaway here is that for these recreational drinkers, what they plan to do and how much they feel they can control their actions seem to be much stronger drivers of their drinking behavior than those splits. Second, slips in inhibitory control. It suggests that our intentions and our beliefs about our ability to control ourselves play a huge role, a kind of top-down control, rather than just impulsive reactions or momentary failures to stop ourselves. One of the most important questions science is asking is not just who might be at risk for drinking too much, but when are people most likely to drink? This study taps into that by looking at how our self-control kind of ebbs and flows throughout the day. They're suggesting that the smaller moment-to-moment ups and downs in our self-regulation can really impact our choices. This connects with a really popular idea in psychology called the theory of planned behavior. This theory basically says that our behavior is most strongly predicted by our intentions, and our intentions are shaped by what we think about a behavior, what others think, and importantly, how much control we feel we have over it. And this study's results actually fit really well with that theory. Scroll methods, the cute Go task participants were instructed to complete a 5-minute 100 trial, adapted mobile Go task Fillmore et al. 2006 Figure 1, using the Inquisite Player application milliseconds app on their smartphone, in which they needed to press the screen for green. Go targets and refrain from pressing for blue. No. Go targets a scroll now. Let's circle back to that Go task. You see, when they looked at the actual errors people made on this task, there wasn't a clear link to their drinking. And the researchers have a few ideas why. First, the task might have been a bit too easy. If everyone is performing pretty much perfectly, it is hard to see who has an actual deficit in inhibitory control. They also suggest that for recreational drinkers, their inhibitory control might not be chronically impaired, like it can be in people with more severe alcohol problems. So a quick task on a smartphone might not pick up on those subtle differences. Scroll discussion: the analysis examining inhibitory control measured by inhibitory commission errors on the do-no-go task did not provide credible evidence for an effect to predict alcohol consumption. At either the momentary or daily level phase, Scroll the study highlights something important: self-report measures, like how much you think you plan to drink or how much control you feel you have. And behavioral measures like that go or no-go task don't always measure the same thing. They might be capturing different aspects of our mind, which is why one might predict drinking and the other might not. Scroll discussion: the unexpected negative association between craving and alcohol consumption in the momentary model may reflect the timing of random prompts rather than a true suppression effect. Scroll. And that counterintuitive finding about craving, that when people reported more craving, they actually drank less in that specific moment. The researchers think this is likely due to how they timed things. They asked about craving right now, but alcohol use was measured over a slightly longer period, like the past 2 hours or the night before. So someone who just finished drinking might no longer be craving intensely, even though they just drank. This timing mismatch can make it look like craving predicts less drinking, when it is really just a snapshot of a person who's already acted on their craving. Scroll strength's limitations and future directions: the present study is part of a limited number of daily assessment studies that successfully integrated the use of an adapted behavioral phone task. Scroll this study has some really great strengths. Using this phone-based approach over 4 days gives us a real-world look at drinking habits, and it reduces the reliance on people remembering perfectly what they did yesterday. Plus, actually integrating a behavioral task on the phone, not just surveys, is a big step forward. Scroll strengths, limitations, and future directions: first, the slight mismatch between the time reference used to measure craving and alcohol may have influenced the negative association that emerged at the momentary level. Scroll, however, there are some limitations. That timing issue with craving is one. Also, 4 days is a pretty short time. Longer studies might reveal different patterns. And while the mobile go-no-go task was innovative, the study authors note that sometimes older, more traditional pencil and paper tasks might have stronger findings. Also, a lot of data was missing for planned use. Scroll conclusions together: the current findings suggest that in recreational drinkers, planned use and perceived control may be more influential in predicting daily drinking patterns, whereas no credible evidence was found for an effect of automatic mechanisms. Inhibitory control craving underlying drinking on the consumption in the current sample. Scroll. So what is the big picture for people who drink for fun? It seems our intentions and how much we believe we can control ourselves are really key. This doesn't mean inhibitory control is never important, but in this study, the planning ahead and feeling in control aspects shone brighter. Scroll conclusions: these findings may inform future digital health interventions, such as just-in-time adaptive interventions (JITIs). Nahum. Jennie et al. 2018, Waddell et al. 2025, aimed at preventing hazardous drinking among recreational users by optimizing intervention timing during periods of elevated drinking intentions or reduced perceived control. Scroll this research could be super helpful for designing apps or interventions. Imagine a digital coach that notices you've planned a lot of drinking for the day or that your feeling of control is dipping, and then it offers a little bit of support or a distraction right when you need it most. It's like just-in-time help. Scroll credit authorship contribution statement: Jennie, Lukoff, conceptualization, formal analysis, visualization, writing original drafts. Scroll, it is really cool to see how researchers are using technology to get these granular insights into our daily lives and how we make decisions. This study shows us that influencing our intentions and bolstering our sense of control could be a really effective way to help people manage their drinking. It also makes you think about your own day. When do you notice your intentions shifting or your feeling of control fluctuating? Understanding those moments could be the first step to making different choices. Scroll funding this research is supported by Convergence Healthy Startup Program of the Convergence Alliance, Delft University of Technology, Erasmus University Rotterdam, and Erasmus Medical Center to improve the future of new generations. This has been another dive into the incredible world of psychology here on RUBIN'S Mind Lab. If you found this interesting, please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next exploration into the human mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.